This is an article from The Atlantic with very interesting artwork. Very interesting artwork. I'd only just noticed it. I didn't know what to make of it. But anyway, something in the air. The coronavirus pandemic is sparking baseless theories about the dangers of 5G. But the fear that wireless technology is slowly killing us isn't new, and it doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon. And thank you, Caitlin Tiffany. In the 1970s, the boogeyman was power lines. Low-frequency electromagnetic waves were emanating from them all the time. And a shocking 1979 study suggested that children who develop cancer live near power lines unduly often. Unduly often. It's an interesting way of putting that, but yeah. Around the same time, because of Cold War panic, the radiation in general, televisions and microwave ovens also became a possible human health catastrophe. Later, concern bubbled up around a slew of other household appliances, including hair dryers and electric blankets. Now the advance of cell phones and more recently, the new high-speed networks built to serve them have given rise to a paranoid coalition who believe to varying degrees in a massive cover-up of deleterious harm. The devices are different, but the fears are the same. The radiation from the things we use every single day is destroying us. Our modern world is a colossal mistake. The stakes are about as high as they could possibly be. If it were true that our cell phones are causing brain tumors, that our wireless devices were damaging our DNA, and that radiation emanating from cell towers was sickening us in any untold number of ways, this would be the greatest human health disaster the world has ever known, as well as perhaps its greatest capitalist conspiracy. It's too big to be true. The science is confusing, but the World Health Organization, noting decades of research, has found no significant health risk from low-level electromagnetic fields. Yet amid a broader tech backlash against screens, against social media, against power consolidating in a handful of companies, against a technology industry that rolls out new products and protocols faster than we can keep up or argue with, against the general fatigue and malaise associated with a life spent typing and scrolling, it's just big enough to seem to many like the obvious explanation for so much being wrong. Yeah, so I'll stop there for a second. Like, when you add it all up, like this author just did, I think it starts to come together. It starts to you start to get why some people are having so much trouble with technology in general, right? Like, there's a whole list of things, right, that people see as wrong, and then what they do is they have suspicion for these technology companies, right? These big, powerful, shadowy technology companies that can do what they want and have major impact on the rest of us. And they see that their lives and their society are stagnant or deteriorating, right? And both of these things are true, right? Like the U.S., at least here in the States, I can't speak to the rest of the world and how they've arrived at these conclusions, but in the States, we got a deteriorating society, right? There's just no two ways about it. There's a deteriorating society, and people have various explanations for that, right? This happens to be one of them. If it's easier to say that, like, it's some sort of big shadowy cabal, that they are the ones who are doing this. That's why nothing can actually really change, right? It's both empowering and disempowering, because when it's just these handful of capitalists doing nefarious things, right? Then you can point to big bads, and you can say, well, that's why my life is improving. That's why my wages aren't going up. That's why enter whatever you want. And then on the other side, it's empowering because then it's like, oh, I know the secret. I figured it out. I get why this is happening, and I'm in on it. Like I'm uncovering the truth, and to realize that it's other things that are more amorphous, right? Like it's white stage capitalism, that it's simple interests, right, that have like come together and have created a system that is simply unresponsive to the average citizen, that it's an advancement of society that is like neutral and uncaring to the rest of us, right? That it's these things that are when it's these other things that are just too big to wrap your arms around, right? Then I think that's just unsatisfying for people, and they'd much rather it be like, well, it's these guys right there. It's Zuckerberg. It's Bill Gates. Bill Gates is the problem, right? Like that's something that's small enough you can wrap your mind around, even if you think you can't necessarily bring down Gates and the Gates Foundation and whatever the fuck you think they're up to, right? But it's something that you can see, you can point to, and you don't have to think about all the myriad ways that our society simply doesn't care about you. I don't know. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah. So, moving on. A wildly disorienting pandemic coming at the same time as the global rollout of 5G, the newest technology standard for wireless networks, has only made matters worse. 5G launched in China November 1st, 2019. People dropped dead. The singer Carrie Hilson wrote in a now deleted tweet to her 4.2 million followers in March, and this is in 2020. So this article came out in 2020, so March 2020 is when she wrote that. So just like a few months after November 1st, 2019. Yeah, so Carrie Hilson, I have a song of hers. She made a catchy song a while back, and I got one of her songs, and it's like, she's one of these people. Oh boy, makes me with these artists, like, don't ever get to know these artists because they're going to disappoint you. But yeah, she set that out, like 5G started in China, and then people died, right? Like, so link these two together. As the coronavirus spread throughout Europe, and it didn't start in China. Like, what? Europe was had 5G previously. Like, what? This 5G didn't start in China. Like, it wasn't. No. As the coronavirus spread throughout Europe, fears about 5G appear to have animated a rash of vandalism and arson of mobile infrastructure, including more than 30 incidents in the UK in just the first 10 days of April. That's not just the UK. In the States too, people have been destroying 5G towers. They've been attacking those things. And they've been attacking the engineers, the wireless engineers that have been setting them up. Yeah, they've been like straight up assaulting those guys. Stupidity. Oh boy. In the case of one arson attack in the Netherlands, the words "fuck F 5G" were reportedly found scrawled at the scene. Mobile and broadband infrastructure workers have also reported harassment. Oh, okay. Well, I clearly didn't read this part of this paragraph. Harassment and threats from deluded citizens. A recent Wired UK report detailed an instance in which a London network engineer was spit on. He later contracted the illness that was supposed to be the coronavirus. Oof. Yeah. Clearly I didn't read that part of the paragraph though. So, okay. While those theories are are flat Earth level absurd. Legitimate scientists have long been interested in a relationship between wireless technology and cancer, and tens of millions of dollars has been spent investigating it. Activists have lobbied politicians and government agencies who have been thus compelled to address it. Mothers have always told their children not to stand in front of the microwave. Annals of the New York Academy of Science published an overview of electromagnetic radiation research in 1975, acknowledging the public's concern about how quickly technological advances were moving along, resulting in the use of electromagnetic emitting equipment in medicine, industry, research, military systems, and the home. The wildest thing about the baseless coronavirus and the 5G theories is that they're barely part of the story. They're just the latest headline, which I think is interesting in itself. I think that's interesting in and of itself. Like, it's 5G, you know, it seems like, oh no, this came out of the blue. But the point of this article is linking that to a long history of this type of thing and this type of panic. So it's 5G is just the latest, right? Like they were saying, this already came out with like the power lines. And so I won't go through all of this. This is very long article. But I want to touch on this one other section, and then we'll do other stuff, because this is where I think it gets pretty interesting. Activists tend to cite the existence of hundreds or even thousands of studies that prove a connection between low level radiation and various adverse health effects. They aren't wrong about the volume of research. They aren't even wrong that some of the studies find what they're looking for. What is impossible to say in a sentence is that they find any one thing in particular, and no evidence supports the idea that global industry and governments have made a concerted effort to keep shocking findings from the public. So like the thing is that they don't find just one problem, right? With electromagnetic waves, right? You'll find that they can have some sort of health effects, right? That's not completely made up, but it's not as if, like, the list of things that, it's not that the list of things that these conspiracy theories are saying are the only things, right? That there's an incredible amount of data saying specifically that is the problem. Okay, no, it's destroying your DNA, guys. It's ripping you apart from the inside out. It's not that there was like an incredible body of work saying that. It's just like random things that could be a health issue, maybe, which is a lot less satisfying as like you're going to die, you know. And then there's like the thing that the government is keeping away from us, but it's not, right? Like all these studies, you can find them. You can find the studies. They're right there. No one's hiding these things. But these other people are they're quite sure that the government is having some cover-up, because cover-ups are always exciting. Cover-ups are a lot of fun, honestly. Work that points to dangerous connections between electromagnetic radiation and negative human health outcomes tends to ignore much of what we know about electromagnetic waves and the way they interact with the body. Though the term radiation always conjures up a little something frantic in the gut, there's a diverse spectrum of electromagnetic waves with big differences among them. Gamma rays and X-rays with waves with very short wavelengths and very high photon energies can cause cellular damage because they can knock electrons out of atoms. It's very bad to be exposed to them for extended periods. But current wireless technology uses fields in the microwave range, and the FCC sets limits for radio frequency exposure from cell phones well below the line at which we would expect heating to happen in human tissue. In 1991, the Yale physicist Robert K. Adair wrote in a Physical Review that there are good reasons to believe that weak fields can have no significant biological effect at the cell level, and no strong reason to believe otherwise. So yeah, it's they're using microwaves, but not to the point where, you know, it cooks you, right? Not to the point where it cooks you. But when you hear that, well, that sounds fishy, right? It sounds a little fishy, right? Like microwaves. what if the FCC is wrong? And it is doing something, right? Like the FCC sets a level, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right level, right? And then the reason why they don't tell you is because then that would damage industry. Like you can see how you can easily, from like a reasonable skepticism, can like lead you down that line, right? You can see that. It's like it's not. It's very tiny logical jumps that get from, hey, maybe these cell phones might be having some sort of slight effect on us, right? Or maybe that the government hasn't done a great job with keeping us safe. To they've put in nanobots into our blood with this coronavirus vaccine, right? And when they turn on the 5G, it's either going to kill us or control us all, right? This it's a long way. You got to make a few more jumps to get there, right? But you can get down on the road from something that's not unreasonable. Yeah. So it's, yeah. The best evidence that electromagnetic radiation does not cause brain cancer is simple. We have been placing antennae on our bodies and next to our heads or almost 24 hours a day for 2 decades, and the world has not seen an epidemic of brain cancer. In fact, in the US, the rate of new brain cancer cases was lower in 2017 than in 1992. Yeah, because we got cell phones, and cell phones have like before, when the threat about cell phones had come out like years ago, like we didn't use them nearly as often as we do now, right? Now they're on us all the time, right? And now the bit, if you talk to one of these theories, conspiracy theorists, well, they'll say, well, sure, that's true, but you haven't had 5G. 5G is different. 5G works on a different band of radiation of the EM spectrum, which is true, right? The C band. It works on a different area, and it's more powerful. And so this is the thing that's going to be worse, and this is the thing that's going to destroy us. But still, I mean, I don't think there's anything to that. But still, we've had these things for a long time, and our use of them has been increasing. And it's not brain cancer everywhere. People aren't dropping dead of brain cancer. But then, if it's not brain cancer, then it's something else. It's something slower and harder to detect. It's our DNA that's being destroyed, you know? And how exactly do you detect that? Right? Well, if your DNA is being destroyed, well, there could be a list of things that could cause, right? If your DNA was slowly like unraveling, and it wouldn't be brain cancer, and then you could point to anything and say, well, that's it. My friend got sick, and I think it was because of the 5G, you know? For years, scientific attempts to find a meaningful relationship between sorry, I've already read that. Oh, no, I didn't read this. Sorry. 4 years, scientific attempts to find a meaningful relationship between brain cancer and cellular radiation have failed. For 13 years, starting in 1982, scientists followed every adult in Denmark who had a cell phone plan. Wow. 420,000 people. In the end, they found no evidence at all of an association between brain tumors and cell phone use. Oh, I don't know, man. But in 1982? 420,000 adults had that in 1982? For 13 years, starting in 1982. So it ended in 1995? Interesting. I didn't know cell phones were popular enough. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a high number for 1982. I mean, I guess they grew as the, I don't know. It seems like a high number. Seems like a really high number. And I think if you had said this to a conspiracy theorist, they're like, well, those cell phones were different from the ones we have now, and they aren't 5G. They're far less powerful. So In 2010, the World Health Organization released the results of a decade-long international case control study. The study's 48 authors took more than 4 years to decide how to interpret the data, and it's easy to see why. The findings were simultaneously explosive and meaningless. The participants who held their phone to their head most often had a 40% increase in the risk for developing excuse me, sorry. Sneezing. Didn't want to do that in your ears. So it says the participants who held their phone to their head most often had a 40% increase in the risk of developing a glioma. Absolutely shocking and significant. But the group with the second highest use showed bafflingly one of the lowest risk for glioma. The science remained muddy. So okay, like I hope you understand. I don't even know what a glioma is. I'm imagining it's a brain something. I don't know what a glioma is. But the fact that the participants who used the cell phone and put it up to their head, right, pressed up to their head, had a 40% increase. But the group with the second highest showed had the lowest risk of glioma, right? So like the group that also put cell phones up to their head, right, but for a lesser amount had the least amount of risk, right? You wouldn't think that if it's the cell phones that are causing it, then you would see like a step down, right, in terms of like use of the cell phone near your brain, right? You'd see like a gradual step down, not like it going off a cliff for the second group, right? So what would you do with that? What do you do with that? Now, if you take the first part of that and say like, well, people are developing, I don't know what a glioma is. We gotta find that out. I don't know what a glioma is. Let's see if we can figure that out. Glioma is a common type of tumor originating in the brain. Okay, fair enough. About 30% of all brain tumors are gliomas and originate in glial cells that surround and support neurons in the brain, including astrocytes. I'm not going to try to pronounce any of that, but okay, it's a type of tumor. All right, fair enough. Yeah, so like people are developing a type of tumor, you'd say, right? Oh no, but which is bad, but why? Why? If the second part of the study is saying that, another part is that it doesn't follow, the correlation doesn't follow, is everyone getting that information, right? If this study is being spread around in different places, is everyone understanding what it's trying to tell you? The authors don't know what they're trying to tell you. 48 authors took more than 4 years to decide how to interpret the data. Because they didn't know what to make of this shit. But in 2018, the largest study ever of cell phones and brain cancer conducted by the US's National Toxicology Program tested rats at high-level full-body exposures far higher than the average cell phone user would experience. It found clear evidence, in quotes, that cell phone exposure was correlated with malignant heart tumors in male rats, but not females, and some evidence that exposure was correlated with gliomas and adrenal gland tumors in male rats, but not females. So this is... Wait a minute. I get it. I cracked the case, right? So at the same time that we have this coronavirus, and at the same time we got this 5G rollout, all of a sudden people keep talking about these trans individuals, huh? Right? And all of a sudden you got all these males, right, becoming females. Could it be that they're part of a worldwide conspiracy to protect themselves, right? If these things affect males, not females, are these people part of the conspiracy? And they're taking those hormones, right, feminizing themselves to avoid the health effects that they'll impose on the rest of us, the males around the world. And then once they have us where they want us, right, they'll strike and take over the world. Could be. Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but the connections are there. The connections are there. So I mean, tell me, like, I just pulled that out of my ass, but tell me that hasn't already been said. Tell me right now that hasn't already been said. I'm telling you that once someone saw this study, right, or saw a headline from this study, that this is exactly what they thought. One of the biggest challenges of studying brain cancer is that it is very rare. An association between a brain tumor and anything at all would be incredibly difficult to prove, even if the association existed. But there is reason that the question keeps getting asked and the studies keep getting founded. Excuse me. In addition to being rare, brain cancers are exceptionally deadly. Only 1 in 3 people who are diagnosed with brain cancer will be alive 5 years later. That's fucking terrible. One afternoon, I attended a NYC 5G wake-up call meeting and a pre-war co-op on Manhattan's Museum Mile overlooking Central Park. When I arrived, 5 women are sitting in a ring around the edge of a sun-dappled sitting room. They've all brought stacks of paper, printouts of studies and reports, and pamphlets, along with a couple of sheets that are just a list of video links. The meeting's host, Stephanie Lowe, has been an activist for 20 years working against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Yeah, fair enough. Fracking, and now wireless technology of all sorts. I only work on things that are enormous horror, she says. She hands me a business card, one of 1,000 she had printed to hand out to parents around the city when she sees them giving their young children a cell phone to play with. The card depicts a cartoon child with a smart meter, which emit electromagnetic radiation, hovering near their throat and a cell phone near their brain next to a stop sign and a note. Protect your kids. Studies show that developing brains of children have conception to teenage years can be damaged by cell phone use. To be safe, even casual play should be prevented. Last June, Lowe finished treatment for pancreatic cancer. A few months before, she'd become personally involved in the wireless issue because of a friend who is electrohypersensitive. The friend has lived a normal life in New York City until her landlord installed 25 smart meters in the building without warning. She didn't sleep for 5 nights, Lowe says, and had to come stay with her. 3 weeks later, Lowe's friends was in excruciating pain again whenever she moved. She started living in Lowe's guest bathroom, the only place that felt slightly less like a frying pan. Eventually, she moved upstate. A week after she left, Lowe found out that her building had installed smart meters in its basement too. A fact that she relays with her eyes burning a hole through the floor at her feet. So have any of you guys seen Better Call Saul? This is that storyline from Better Call Saul. It's a great movie, or not movie, series, right? Better Call Saul is the prequel to Breaking Bad, in case you didn't know. And you haven't been watching it, you're fucking missing out. But this is what she's describing here, is what one of the main characters experiences. That they seem to have some sort of sensitivity to electromagnetic waves, and whether it's in their head or not in their head isn't entirely clear, but yeah, one way or other, they are experiencing something, and it feels like they are like their skin is on fire due to electromagnetic waves, right? When they consider that, when they think about that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. Is there anything to it? It's not clear. It's a thing that people experience. Is it just in their heads? I don't know. I don't know, but you can see how you can relate that to a larger thing, saying that these things are dangerous altogether. Crystal Clear Art, thank you for the resubbing for 6 months. Awfully kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. That's really kind of you. Thank you. She's great. But yeah, the WHO has a long informational page about the electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Actually, I kind of want to check that out. It is clearly written to be careful about studies like Lowe's Friends, describing the suffering as real, but the idea that a person with EHS can specifically detect and feel a traumatic field exposure as suspect. EHS, it says, is characterized by a variety of non-specific symptoms that differ from individual to individual. The symptoms certainly are real and can vary widely in their severity, it reads. Then EHS has no clear diagnostic criteria, and there is no scientific basis to link EHS symptom to EMF, electromagnetic frequency exposure. Further, EHS is not a medical diagnosis, nor is it clear that it represents a single medical problem. The friend who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retribution from the telecom industry calls us from upstate. How? Wait, what? Calls us from upstate? That didn't hurt? Okay. And retells the story, adding, we're truth detectives sorting propaganda from reality. Oh man, look at this. All right, so we're gonna I will leave it there. This is a super long article. This is super fucking long, and I even skipped parts of it already. So yeah, how that she make that call? Maybe she did it through like a old rotary phone or something. That's a possibility, I guess. I just a little like, how'd you make that call? How'd you do that? I don't know. It's a little suspicious there, right? I don't know, man. You know, I've never seen 12 Monkeys before. Mike from Seattle. I've never seen that. 2 tin cans and a really long piece of string. Yeah, possibly. Exponent. But yeah, I've never seen 12 Monkeys before. I wanted to. I've heard that it's really good, but or Johnny Darko. I've never seen that either. I want to see that too. I just haven't had the opportunity, but I do want to check it out. I think one of those was on Netflix a little while ago. I'm not sure if it's still there. Anyway, yep, that's it.